Hello nerds and nerdettes, and welcome back to the channel where once again we have a new video for you guys. Today we have a manga first look, which is none other than the Vagabond Definitive Edition Volume 1. This was one of my most anticipated releases of the month, and I cannot believe it's finally here, and I cannot wait to jump into this book with you guys and talk about the story and what this format has to offer. But before we do that, a quick reminder that we do have a channel sponsor where you can get all of your books, comic books, and collected editions, and that is organicpricebooks.com, where we do have a discount code, which is staynerdy, and that will save you $2 on your order. But if you're ordering 4 or more books, you can use the code staynerdyshipittogether to save yourself 5% on that entire order. Both codes are a great way to save yourself some money, but also an incredible way to help support the channel. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the details of the book. Vagabond, the Definitive Edition, is published by Viz, which means this is their first official release in the deluxe edition format. They have released other titles in oversized format before, but not quite matching the same shape, model, and aesthetic that we first saw coined by Dark Horse when they started putting out the Berserk deluxe editions. This is written and drawn by the mangaka Takahiko Inoue, who is an incredible mangaka, especially when it comes to his art, and he's very well known in the manga scene. This does have a cover price of $55 and a page count of 728 pages, and it is not yet released, so we do have a release date of January 21st, 2025. This is a title and release that I've been excited for a very long time as soon as I heard about it, and I can't wait to get into it. But there is other formats that I do want to make you guys aware of. There are singles of Vagabond as well as Viz Bigs covering the title. The singles are pretty hard to come by, and I do not recommend that format. The Viz Bigs are much more readily available, and they are beautiful on the shelf, and probably the format that most people have this title collected in. If you've seen any type of collection tour and you see those connecting spines, that is Vagabond. But we finally have now a oversized format, which is going to work beautifully with the incredible art inside of this title. But let's go ahead and jump into this book, talk a little bit about the story, do some comparisons, and just talk about the format overall. So here we are, Vagabond, the Definitive Edition by Takahiko Inoue, Volume 1. This is a deluxe edition manga, very similar to that of the Berserk Deluxe Edition, Blade of the Immortal, Hellsing, Trigun, all of those deluxe editions that we've seen come out as of recently, but this is from Viz Media. So we are finally getting Viz putting out some of the titles they have in their catalog in a much larger, oversized format. So some differences here come down to the design of this specific edition. So first up, you do have the title, the mangaka, and the volume number all in a golden embossed detail, which is absolutely phenomenal. It jumps off the cover. The camera is not doing it justice. It is truly a bright and vibrant gold, like a gold bar was literally melted on the book itself. And then when we look at the spine, we have a fairly simplistic spine, which gives the title and this specific edition some elegance when it comes to the simplicity of it, and again, the bright gold, vibrant title on the side of the spine itself. And then as we get to the back, we then have obviously a little brief synopsis on what takes place in this particular volume, and of course the price tag, which is $55, and a explicit content tag. So you guys do know that this is something that young kids cannot read. This is a seinen manga, so it is geared more towards adults. So we are going to do some comparisons with the Viz Big and some other deluxe editions, but before we do so, the biggest detail change that is present here actually has to do with this image. When you first initially saw this edition solicited, you probably thought the same thing that I did, which is that this is the art on the board, and it's just going to be a panel from the manga itself on the board, but this is actually a half-sized dust jacket, which is fully removable. You do not want to read with this on by any means, because of the fact that it does get snagged on tons of things. I've already got it snagged on a lot, and I can see it ripping for tons of people. It is a nice detail, a nice little addition that makes it just that much more pristine of an edition is when it actually has a dust jacket. But without the dust jacket, it is a fairly simplistic looking book, almost looking like it's some form of feudal Japan scripture. Looks like a book that's just from feudal Japan, so it does have a little bit of immersion to the actual volume itself. As we get into the actual volume, we have some very pretty designs when it comes to the end sheets, which I'm always kind of a sucker for. And then you do get immediately into some colored glossy pages for some of the art and covers. Absolutely phenomenal. One thing that these editions do have over the VizBigs are extras. You get extras in the beginning and you get extras in the back. And then we get immediately to the title page after that. We get the volume contents, so we do have 3 volumes in one, which means this collects the exact same content minus the extras as the VizBig, which means we're probably going to have roughly 12 deluxe editions to complete Vagabond in these deluxe editions here. And then we do open up very similar to that of the VizBigs with some color pages, so you do get those intact. Those are present. I was very worried that they wouldn't be, but here they are. And then we get the title page to volume 1. So essentially what this is a manga adaptation of the book Musashi, and it does follow the world's greatest samurai and duelist, which is Miyamoto Musashi, as he forms into that individual, that character. This story overall is about growth. It's about trying to hone one's craft. It's about relationships throughout life, whether that's friendships or romantic relationships. There is tons of lessons that can be learned here. And then on top of that, Takahiko Inoue's art is absolutely phenomenal. If you can't see already, there is a ultra realistic aspect to some of his art. There is some panels in here that look like they could literally be in a museum. They are that phenomenal. But yeah, this is a very, very interesting story. This is one of the most recommended mangas for a reason. It's one of the big 3 when it comes to seinen manga, which is Vagabond, Vinland Saga, and Berserk. The 3 greatest manga titles, at least that's what most regard it as. And here we are again with another colored page here. But yeah, this is a must-read for sure if you're a manga fan, and this is a great addition for reading this beautiful story. Now, throughout this, you are going to have very beautiful and high-quality matte pages instead of high gloss, which I do think performs better when it comes to manga. The blacks are extremely black and the whites are very vibrant, which I think makes the reading experience that much better when the blacks and the whites are just jumping and dancing off the page. So I do think that performs well. The first pages, as you saw, are high gloss and full color, but that is only for the first half or front half of the extras. But everything else is a black and white typical manga style of story and paneling, and it is a phenomenal story. Very similar to other deluxe editions, we do have a ribbon here, which is always a great touch. This is a dark red, almost maroon ribbon. Absolutely love that color, works great for the title. It's almost like a blood red, which kind of, I guess, fits even more so. And then as we get into the story even more, we get to follow the character development of the character of Takezo, who is actually Miyamoto Musashi, at once he evolves himself and goes on a mission to become invincible under the sun. Obviously, I am being very broad, generalized, and not detailed there. That is for you to find out the details of the story. by reading. This is not a review. This is an overview on this new edition, and that's about it. So do yourself a favor and read it. It is phenomenal. It is a great story, and I do recommend it to manga readers and comic book readers because there is lessons to be learned and phenomenal art. Now, as we get to the end of the deluxe edition, you are going to now get some extras. You get roughly, I think this is about 6 pages of extras. You're going to get glossary and background information about the historical setting, some of the characters that are referenced or that make an appearance there. So even more information. You're going to get some character concept sketches and concept art when it comes to the designs of the character. Get to see Inoue's sketches and just how phenomenal they are. Absolutely breathtaking just as sketches there. And then you're also going to get some actual interview, interview between Viz and Inoue, which is really interesting stuff. So unlike the VizBigs, you do get some extras here. This is the definitive edition. This is where, you're going to get a lot of that behind the scenes stuff, and it is absolutely phenomenal. And then we do end with the same end pages as the front pages. So that does wrap up the tour of the book itself. So now we can do some comparisons once I zoom the camera out between this edition and the VizBig. And here we are with the comparison portion. This is Vagabond Volume 1 of the VizBig. This does contain 3 volumes in one singular volume, very similar to that of the definitive edition. First thing that you guys can probably notice is the difference in size. So obviously the definitive edition has a good 2-3 inches of height, and then when it comes to width per page, we are going to have probably another 2 or 3 inches of width per page. So you are going to have a lot more room for the page to jump off, or the art to jump off the page, and really show off the skills of Inoue. Now we can jump into these volumes. I'll zoom out once again, and we can compare the difference between 2 panels in both books. And here we are with a good spread page here. We can zoom in just a hair so you guys can kind of see what exactly is going on in the panel itself. So we do have a absolutely beautiful spread page, and make note of how I am not holding the book down by any means. The binding is doing all of the work and allowing this book to open beautifully and show the artwork that is on display here. Now to put the VizBig on top of it, so we have yet another comparison. Here we are with the same panel. This is the difference in size here, so just make note of where the VizBig ends and where the deluxe edition ends. So you do have a very big difference when it comes to the size of pages. But the point that is probably the most different is when it comes down to the binding. So VizBigs are glued binding books, which means they do have a very brittle spine, and they tend to be a little bit of a mousetrap. Now, what do I mean by that is, as soon as I let go of the volume, it does close immediately. This is not a volume that you can really read on a desk and kind of just sit back and enjoy. You do have to open up the book itself and make sure that it doesn't close on you. So that is a major difference there, not to mention obviously the page size. But now when we look at the differing opinion or the differing panels in each edition, one thing that is obvious, which I keep hinting on, is the size of the panel. But one thing that I do somewhat notice is the blacks in the VizBig are actually deeper and darker. So it seems that some of the ink quality is a little bit better in the VizBig edition opposed to the definitive edition. But that's me really nitpicking. It seems that some of the darker scenes and darker panels are going to be a little bit more darker and, I guess, vibrant in the VizBig, opposed to the definitive edition, where it's a little bit more lighter, which I guess it depends on your opinion if you want those blacks to be darker or if you want them to be lighter so you can see more of the details. One of the parts that you can kind of see what I'm referencing here as I zoom in is actually going to be on the gauze that Takezo is using on his shoulder. If we look at the definitive edition versus the Viz Big, the definitive edition here, you can see all of the wrinkles of the piece of cloth that Takezo is using on his shoulder, where when we look at the actual Viz Big, it just kind of looks black. It looks like it's saturated in blood, but when we actually get a more detailed image, we see the actual print and pattern on the shirt itself or the piece of cloth itself. So I do think the definitive edition is going to lend more towards details when it comes to the ink quality and the page quality, but the Viz Bigs do have a deeper and darker black when it comes to the inks. So it is relatively hit or miss. I don't think the page quality or the ink quality on the paper is exactly what's going to make or break what edition you get, because they are fairly similar. I don't see many differences. The shirt details is me being nitpicky and really honing into the detail itself, but overall I think they are a pretty decent copy from one another. Now a little bit of a comparison between the OG Berserk Deluxe Edition from Dark Horse and now the most recent Viz Deluxe Edition for Vagabond. They are relatively the same size. I would say maybe, no, they're almost the exact same height when it comes to the height of the volume overall. One thing that I do see a little bit of a difference of between the two deluxe editions is it does seem like the actual width of Vagabond is a little bit wider, and I would probably say that's not even half an inch. It's probably even less than that. So that's really me trying to find any differences at all. But overall, they do seem to hold up to one another when it comes to the quality and the build of the book. Both are sewn binding, both come with ribbons, both are hardcovers. The only major difference, if I'm really nitpicking the design of the book, is that this is obviously that pleather, fake leather that they put on pretty much all of their Dark Horse Deluxe editions, where this Vagabond has a suede feel or a suede texture. And the titles between the two, Vagabond is embossed and much brighter of a chrome-like texture and vibrant when it comes to that type of texture, where Berserk is a little bit more duller, and that probably has more to do with the material that the title is printed on. But still, overall, they are pretty much a one-for-one copy, and they're both holding up beautifully. So I would expect whatever you're familiar with when it comes to the Berserk Deluxe Edition is probably what you're going to get here. But that does wrap up the overview and tour around this new Vagabond Deluxe Edition. I am so excited that this is finally a thing. But let's go ahead and jump back to the desk and talk a little bit more about differences and this specific format / edition. And welcome back, nerds and nerdettes. So like I touched on during the overview, this is an incredible story that really needs no introduction. It is regarded as one of the big three in this seinen manga realm, which does cover Berserk, Vinland Saga, and Vagabond. Those are typically the big three that you get recommended the most as must-reads when it comes to the genre. Now, this specific edition, I think, is the superior way to collect Vagabond, and that's mostly because of Inoue's art, which is a very high realistic and hyper detailed style, which I think the oversized pages are going to contribute to beautifully. Now, when it comes to other formats, such as the Viz Bigs, the main difference that you are going to have between these two is obviously the height and size of the volume itself, but the biggest selling point for me when it comes to the deluxe edition format is the sewn binding. Viz Bigs are infamous at this point for having that terrible glued binding where pages fall out, and sometimes people even receive Viz Bigs completely falling apart. You are not going to have that issue here with this deluxe edition. This is very similar to that of the Berserk or Helsing or Blade of the Immortal deluxe editions, which means they are literally a tome that are put together to the point they are bulletproof. I've dropped a multitude of my deluxe editions at this point, and not one of them has ever been damaged. So I highly recommend this format as a collector, but when it comes to reading, being able to flop this book completely open and have an eye for those spread pages, I think that's going to really contribute to your reading experience. Another thing that we are aware of is they are doing the Blade of the Immortal technique when it comes to these specific deluxe editions. So the deluxe editions are going to be collecting 3 volumes in one, which is the exact amount of volumes that are collected in the VizBigs. We have 12 VizBigs to catch up to volume 36. There is a single of volume 37 that you can get to complete the story. But that being said, we at least know that because these deluxe editions are essentially a blown up hardcover edition of those VizBigs, we will be having at least 12 volumes. Are they going to push that final volume into that 12th volume for these deluxe editions? I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and find out. I hope they do. But we do know that at least, at minimum, we will be getting 12 volumes to have all of Vagabond in the deluxe edition or definitive edition format. Now that the deluxe edition format is no longer specific to just Dark Horse, and we have all the other publishers putting their hat in the ring, we do have some differences when it comes to the build and quality of the books. Dark Horse is the original, and I still think it is the superior deluxe edition. Feels great in the hand, the page quality is beautiful, sewn binding is well done, and overall it just feels perfect and very sturdy when it comes to the book quality and the integrity of the book overall. And then we do have Vinland Saga, which is by Kodansha. This has a flat spine, still sewn binding, you still get the ribbon and the leather-bound book, but the flat spine does kind of affect the reading experience overall when it comes to it laying flat on your desk or your lap, whatever it may be. I tend to lean more towards a curved spine instead of a flat spine, but I think that does come down to personal preference. And then we do have Ubel Blatt, which this is from Yen Press. This is a deluxe edition that did impress me mainly because of the weight of this specific volume. They are using a lot of lightweight materials when it comes to paper and the cardboard that the book is kind of composed in or built from, to the point that it is very, very lightweight in your hand and probably extremely easy to be mobile with if you like to read in other locations. Now, when it comes to Viz's addition into this format's world, I think they've done absolutely beautiful. They are not doing anything leather bound when it comes to this specific book, but it's more of like a suede material, which I tend to not like as much because I do have dogs and pets, and some of their fur likes to stick to that type of material. But they do have a half dust jacket on the book itself, which I think is a pretty good addition overall. Any of these deluxe editions, I think, pass the test as far as it being a superior way to collect and read. And I think Vagabond is a great addition. I think having the big 3 all in deluxe edition now is a unreal world that I never thought would exist, and getting even more titles such as extremely out of print titles like Helsing or Trigun and Ubel Blatt in deluxe edition is a dream come true as well. Overall, I think this is an incredible format to collect Vagabond in. I think this is the superior format. I think sometimes it can be hit or miss when it comes to the art or the style of storytelling. Sometimes you read a title and it leaves you kind of scratching your head why it was put into a deluxe edition, but Vagabond is not that type of title. This is 100% deserving of this format and getting these oversized pages for the caliber of this story and definitely the caliber of the art. So I think if you do have the VizBigs and you want to upgrade, that is 100% your business and your money and your collection, but I do think it is a valuable conversation to have with yourself, because this is 100% better than those VizBigs when it comes to the binding, the reading experience, and just how it presents on the shelf, because end of the day, the story is very much what matters the most. But we are displaying these books 9 times out of 10, unless, you know, you kind of stuff it in a closet or something like that. But most instances you want to display your manga, and this is a very, very beautiful way to do so. Those viz bigs with the connecting spines, I am going to miss. They are also extremely beautiful, but the fragility of those viz bigs is where they really are coming up short when it comes to the comparison between these two formats. So I think if you want to pick this up, it's a great idea. Obviously, completely up to you, but let me know down below if you plan on upgrading or if you're just going to keep your viz bigs. But that does wrap up today's first look and overview on the beautiful Vagabond Definitive Edition Volume 1. Let me know down below, are you guys going to be collecting it in this format? Are you guys going to be continuing this series? What's your plan as a manga reader, manga collector? Because I would love to hear from you guys. We don't talk about manga as much as I want to on this channel, but it's a new year, so New Year's resolutions and that, I guess. But thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. If you're down in the comment section, hit that subscribe button while you're there and ring that bell for notifications. It means a lot to the channel. And if you did enjoy what you watched today, you can hit that little thumbs up icon. But stay nerdy.